Welcome back to the Daughters of the Moon podcast. We're grateful that you can join us for another week.
We sure are.
And today we're excited we have Joy Baker. Joy is a revolutionary spiritual healer and transformational coach who employs a unique multidimensional approach to help clients break free from generational patterns and limiting beliefs. Using her extraordinary ability to identify and release emotional frequencies, Joy works with divine light and her spiritual guides to create deep-seated blockages in money, relationships, and personal growth. So, welcome, Joy. It's exciting to have you on our podcast with us.
Thank you, Kim and Barb, for having me on your show. I'm looking forward to seeing how the conversation goes.
Yes. So we did a little bit of a short bio. Can you kind of tell us how you got into the work that you're doing and what your work kind of consists of?
Sure. So I was working with horses. The first part of my life, I worked with horses. They were my friends, and first of all, showed horses for 10 years, and then trained and exercised race horses for 15 years. And I started to realize, various things that were happening on the racetrack, and it was changing, and a relationship was basically falling apart. And I started to realize there had to be more to life. And that was a question I asked myself. It was like, okay, universe. Well, I don't think I said universe because wasn't into personal growth. I didn't know that word then. But it was like I was saying there's got to be more to life. And sure enough, and I don't remember exactly what it was. I met somebody on the racetrack who's into personal growth. They started talking to me about it, and just like a friend on the track. And I thought, wow, that's fascinating, and learning about the power of the mind and and our thoughts. And I just thought it was, that was life. But learning how that we have the power to decide how we're going to feel, to choose our life, to choose our like to make choices and decisions was completely new to me. And then I was introduced to energy work, and it was actually through the book Celestian Prophecy. And in that book, I learned about, just reading the story, energy fields and how they interact between people. And when I still remember that, even though that was probably close to 30 years ago when I read that book, but I still remember that moment. I was actually sitting in a mechanics shop getting my brakes done, and I was reading the book, and remember reading that chapter, and it was like everything made sense. I think a part of me, even though I wasn't really on the path yet, knew there had to be more to life than all of us just being, these separate entities and living our separate lives. And when I heard about energy fields and how they interact and how our thoughts and emotions and radiate out from us and interact, I was just fascinated. And so I decided about that time I wanted to be, coach and work with others because I was seeing what it was doing for me. And I'd started going to workshops and such. And it was just, I went to the Tony Robbins Fire Walk. It was actually about 30 years ago now.
No.
And even before about a month before the workshop, and I had no intention of walking on fire. I remember sitting there with a friend of mine in a coffee shop saying, "Oh, I'm just going to go and see, what he has to say. I'm not going to walk on fire." And I had no intention of walking on fire, but I did. It was just amazing. It was amazing. And being able to do that, that kept me going because then it was just after that, about 6 months after that, I left the racetrack. Well, my whole life with the horses, everybody I knew, because I only knew horse people, an 8-year relationship. But that, having gone to that workshop and walked on fire, which is not something a normal person thinks anybody can do, and I say normal in quotes, just kept me going through that time. And it was that belief of I can do more than I realized, and we are more powerful than we realize. And that just kept me going through that. And so I got into really intense, inner work for about 20 years. And I had various jobs, mostly in sales, that kind of things. But I just knew they were all survival jobs because I wanted to do this. And it was actually about 10 years ago now, close to 10 years ago now, I made the decision that it's time. And I just decided this was going to be it. And I committed to that with very little resources, money, I had $4,000 from my last job. I had no clients. I knew I wanted to do energy work, and I had that commitment and the knowing within me that it was time. And it was interesting. The moment I decided it was time, like I committed to that no matter what. And the good thing, I've been through two bankruptcies, so knowing how to not much money, I knew how to. It's like I had nothing to lose. It was like, you know what? I've lived on next to nothing before. I can do that again. I'm committed to this. But the moment I decided that, I thought, okay, well, I have no clients. I want to get into energy work, but what else could I do? So I thought chair massage. The moment I thought that, I was talking to a friend of mine. She talked about, doing like being out on a chair massage gig and doing chair massage for clients. So I asked her about that. She sent me to somebody else who would actually find the contracts to send the practitioners out. And so I started doing that. But it was just amazing how once I made that commitment, it just started to, come together. And that helped me over the next year before I got on my first show. And then things really started moving forward. And because I remember being down to $40. I had no clients, I had no money, no chair massage contracts, nothing like that. And rent was coming up, and I had no food because I could just had enough money to buy enough each day and, eat enough to keep going and such. And I said to the universe, I was standing in the kitchen, and this is a power of commitment, saying, okay, universe, if you want me to do this, if you want me to be out there and supporting the awakening and making a difference, you need to send me, clients or a chair massage gig or something like this so I can make money. And every time, and I did that probably 3 or 4 times during that year, every time within 24 hours, something came in. It was either like some chair massage contract for, remember in 1 month, it was actually the month of April. And I was like, okay, this happened in March. So it was, 30 years ago. And I was like, I said that. And sure enough, I got a chair massage contract that our client that kept me going for the month of April. And,
Right.
things just started to, well, it was actually September 2016. It was a client that had worked with me a few times that really liked my work and said she would, send it to a co-producer of a show. And I was, okay, didn't really think anything was going to happen. I mean, who's going to listen to me, right? Like, how often do we say that? Like, okay, it's not going to happen. But sure enough, they contacted me, and a ton of fear, like just a ton of fear, so much fear. Like I have said yes, and then many times in my life, and then the fear comes up, and it's like, okay, I said yes, I got to figure this out. And it's, like courage is taking action despite the fear. And because some people, I've had people say, and clients, well, when does the fear go? Because once the fear's gone, then I can start. I'm like, no, that's not really how it works. Like there will be fear there, but your courage, what you want to do is awaken within you the courage to say, it's like, okay, this is going to happen. There's fear here, and I'm going to walk through that anyways, whether it's fear or anxiety or, anything that aligns with that same kind of frequency. That is simply 3D consciousness, that fear-based 3D consciousness, because the program or the agenda of 3D consciousness is to keep you stuck and playing small and limited and settling for the status quo. But so busting through that, there's going to be fear, and that's okay. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because people often think, well, there shouldn't be fear. If I'm a fear, that means I'm a coward. No, there's fear. That actually means you have a whole lot of courage within you. It's simply redirecting your attention and your focus to that courage and saying yes to the opportunity when it comes up. So it's been quite a journey. It's been interesting. Yeah. And
Sounds like, oh, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No, it sounds like a really interesting journey you're on. And certainly you have gained the courage just through what you had to live through. It showed you just how much courage you really do have in you too, right? Beautiful.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Barb, is that sometimes the more things we go through, because I went through, there was epilepsy and a speech impediment growing up. So, really bullied a lot, especially from school kids and that when you have a seizure and then you can't talk properly. And plus, I remember through 8 years repressed memories that I'd been sexually abused. I figure it went on about 10 years while I was growing up. And,
Wow.
and that's why I went through the bankruptcies was because my worth and value, well, it was non-existent really. And so I felt like after I left the horses, I couldn't make any more money. My survival job, my go-to survival job, oh, thank you, I don't have to do it any longer, was telemarketing or cold calling. I was one of those people who'd call you at 6 o'clock at night just when you're having dinner and saying, you want to, buy this. But it kept gave me enough food and like money to buy food and rent, kept me going. But I did other jobs, but when I couldn't find anything else, that was my survival job. And because both times I went bankrupt, I went to debt consolidation first of all. Like I wanted to consolidate my debt and pay it off. Both of them, I went to different people both times, and they said, you don't make enough money, you have to declare bankruptcy. And I still put it off until, I had to declare bankruptcy, but it took me twice before I really started to figure out the money issue and really be accountable for take responsibility and be accountable for where I was financially and how I dealt with my money. And it wasn't other people. Like I remember one time getting an NSF charge on, this was back when they had checks and getting it was $45 and I couldn't pay it because I didn't have enough money in there. And then I think everybody's gone through this to some extent, then they charge you money on top of that. And at first, I was really like upset and blaming the bank. And then I went, well, just a minute, like, how am I responsible for this? And I was literally, it wasn't a check, it was transferring money from one account to another. And I was about 3 hours late, but I knew it was coming up. It was something monthly. And once that was the moment because looking back, when I was accountable and responsible for my money and my experiences with money, that's when my money situation started to change. That was one of the things.
I
Wow.
believe that because I think when we're going through things in our lives, we have to have that accountability, right? We have to have that. But I love how you tied it in with that a lot of our issues and our self-limiting beliefs as we go through life are really tied to things in our past and traumas that we've endured in order, because we haven't let them go or we haven't figured out how to kind of rise above. And, I was thinking when you were talking about walking on fire, I mean, a lot of things are the mind over the matter, right? I think I've never walked on fire, but I assume that that's a lot of it is just, envisioning yourself quickly walking across and not feeling that heat. And I don't know, maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we actually we imagined it like the whole class. There was 1,500 people or something. There was a lot of people. And we visualized it about 5 or 6 times before we ever did it. And we actually saw ourselves walking on cool moss. So we kept saying cool moss, cool moss. It was like a chant. So you had all these people in the room visualizing this and chanting cool moss, cool moss. So when we were actually walking on fire, our mind was believing we were walking on cool moss.
Wow.
And so, that kept me going for a long time. And this is one of the things I do with my clients is I have them imagine how do you want to live your life? Like, how do you want to feel? What do you want to be doing? What experiences do you want to have? How do you want to feel? How do you choose to feel while you're having those experiences? And then really bringing them into that. Because once we create that experience, that, you know, our heart desires in the energetic field, if we continue to create that, visualize it in the energetic field, and emotionally, emotions are like the magnet. So as you emotionally feel into that, connect to that, it's just a matter of time before it happened in the physical.
Yeah. I would agree with that. And I also loved how you talked about that aha moment when you know that life is going to shift for you and that you have to be changing and making some kind of like a paradigm shift in your life because your old life doesn't fit you anymore and you just
Mm.
know, right? Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
It's, you know, when let's say somebody, it's a unique for each person, but let's say somebody is either stuck in struggle, nothing seems to be changing, or they just feel stuck in that. And I've actually had several clients saying this lately, just you know, like that stuck place. It just feels heavy and blah, you know, that status quo. You know, that's a good point. Then that's almost when, like you said, it's like your old life and who you were and what you went through and that trauma and those experiences. It's like literally like they don't fit you anymore, but you're in that stuck place. So then I would suggest, first of all, start by choosing how you want to feel. So emotionally, you want to feel happy, full of gratitude, have fun, creative, inspired, abundant, be in flow and ease. You want to feel peaceful, adventurous. Like choose that, because when you choose something, you are sending an intentional frequency out to the universe. And as long as you, even if you can't feel it right away, as long as you continue to choose it, you send that. So it's an energy you're sending out to the universe. Now, let's say you say, I want to feel happy. I want to, you know, feel like I can have fun and go out and have fun, peaceful. Go back to a time when you felt that way, even if you have to go all the way back to childhood. You know, there have been, even if there's been very few, there's been at least a few times you felt happy or you felt calm or you felt safe or peaceful or whatever it is. Remember that. And just, even if it was a moment, just keep remembering that and feeling that. And that will expand. See, what you put your attention and focus on is going to expand in your life. So decide what you want to focus on and put your attention on and let that expand in your life. And then from that place, choose either what you want to have or experiences you want to have. If you want to travel, if you want to get into a relationship, if you want to start a business, if you want to go swimming with the dolphins, whatever it is, choose those experiences and then let that, you can even write it down and just say, you know, I am so happy to be going, you know, swimming with the dolphins. I'm so happy to be buying my first house, whatever it is, and really feel into that. Anything that follows I am is creation. So yeah, that's and you had asked me, Kim, what I do. And by the way, that I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I actually, that's my name, my legal name still. I changed it to Joy about 14 years ago and keep forgetting to change it legally. So yeah. So I grew up with that name. And but yeah, so what I do is I will, we've all got 95% of who we are is our unconscious conditioning. By that, I mean thoughts, beliefs, emotions, experiences, patterns, defaults, behaviors, how we feel about us, you know, ourselves, others, about money, career, love, health, relationships. 95% of that is unconscious. So as you go through the day and you make decisions and you think about things and interact with others, actually only 5% is conscious. That unconscious conditioning, though, it's an energy that's still within you, and that's radiating out. As that radiates out, other people, places, events, experiences align with that, and that's why you bring that into your life. And that could be why well, that is why if you're feeling stuck or the same thing keeps happening over and over again, there's something within you that you're not aware of, that it might be a trauma, it might be experiences, it might be a beliefs, something like that. and that is keeping you stuck. And if you're not sure what that is, look at your experiences, and especially something that keeps happening over and over again. Money is a big one. I often hear, like, I'll start to get ahead and then something happens again. Well, that's a pretty big sign that there's something within you. There's some money issues that you feel like you don't deserve money, or maybe that you're bad if you have more money that's beyond your needs. That was me for a long time. Like, if I have any money in the bank and more money than just to meet my basic needs, then I'm bad and I should be punished and all that stuff. And so what I do specifically is with, well, I'm just a messenger. My guides, they tell me, is go right deep into that unconscious conditioning and identify either a core belief, emotion, thought, or some kind of trauma. And once we identify and acknowledge that, and if necessary, actually release it through, a statement I have, then we just follow the stream of consciousness and go just often that allows us to go deeper and deeper into maybe there's a wound or experience or some kind of trauma. We don't have to know exactly what the trauma is. We just need to go into the emotional energy that's been keeping that stuck and release that. And then the energy just becomes more expansive and light and often joyful.
Yeah, I like that because I just recently said that to someone close to me. I just said, they're trying to, bring all these things forward in their life, but they still seem to keep getting all these stumbling blocks, right? Which I said, so what is your resistance to this? What are you afraid of if this thing that you
Mm.
want actually happens for you? What are you afraid of? And she was like, oh, and then said, and then I said, okay, here's the other thing. It's okay to put these things out into the universe, but if you don't raise your vibration up to meet it, it's hard for the universe to connect with you. Kind of like you're saying with like the fear and things like that. When we put that fear in, then it's like, oh, okay, well then we'll give you a different route that you want to go because clearly you want to go down this fear route as opposed to this, you know, living a joyful life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What you
Yeah.
said there, Kim, is a question very much like I'll ask my clients, like, what I often say is, what is the worst thing you believe could happen if your dreams came true, if this happened in your life? And let's say more money. Well, if I make more money, that's a common thing. If I make more money, if I make this much money, if my, money flows into my life with ease and gratitude and grace, well, then I'm being disloyal to, it might be often it's parents, often we have the belief, I can't make more money than my parents, or I can't have more ease around money than my parents, or somebody else, or a partner, or something like that. And when you look at that fear or the worst thing you believe could happen, it dissolves because it's only an energy, can only cause fear within you when you're not aware of it. But it's like when you look at, I say fear is a coward. When you open the door to fear, it, dissipates, it disappears. And then what happens, and this is what often keeps people, stuck, is all your stuff comes up. And then this actually gives you the opportunity to release it. But we're taught that, well, if I feel shame or if I feel guilt or if I remember this and it brings up trauma, then either I'm bad or, well, that means I'm not advancing on the path. Actually, you are advancing on the path. You're going deep into your stuck energies. So anybody who's dealing with this or has been and felt like they were going back, like people will sometimes say, feel like I'm going, taking 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. Give yourself a pat on the back. Just acknowledge that right now. Acknowledge your courage, because what you're doing, you're going, see, as you expand and you start to feel, just take a deep breath in. Just take a deep breath in. Now imagine your energy expanding and you're feeling lighter and lighter and more free. And the joyfulness, the happiness is bubbling up within you. All those dense, heavy energies, they have to come up to be released. And just notice that if you're dealing with that, because often, we'll feel so good and expansive and light and joyful. And it's like, oh, things are going so well. And then maybe shame comes up or guilt, or you start to remember something, in grade 5 and, oh, that happened. I can't remember I said that to that person, might be 30, 40 years ago. That actually is, look at the motion of that, and it's shame or embarrassment or humiliation. It's coming up to be released. So just look at that and say, okay, there's a humiliation. Okay, well, maybe it's time I let go of that so that I can feel light and joyful and happy and be in the flow of abundance.
Mm.
Yeah.
It,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mom.
it's amazing what keeps you back there too, thinking about not getting money. In particular, when I was 10 years old, I was sexually abused too. The person that did it to me was a millionaire. And so I felt that money came from filth
Oh,
because, because he was rich, um, but he was the nasty, right? So that
mhm.
had stuck with me for years. And that's why the money wasn't coming to me, because I
Wow.
thought I didn't want to be like that if I wanted to have money. You know,
Yeah.
it's so deep rooted, you don't even know how deep rooted it is. It wasn't until I met another person that did have some money, but an amazing person, that changed my persona of how I looked at that, and allowed the money to start coming through then.
And that, Barb, is a really good example of how, it gets integrated within you and just, okay, so this person, and plus when they have money like that, they're a millionaire, they have power over you. So
Yeah,
if you have money, you have power that can harm somebody else. So I'm
yeah,
never gonna have money. So you would never have money just beyond. So that is an excellent example of how something that happens to us and we can just get stuck in that. And that's a good point for anybody. Let's say they're dealing with money. Take a look at what could have happened, or if you know what is keeping you stuck, and maybe it's time to let go of that. And because, as you know, the universe, spirit, source is abundant.
right,
It's abundant. The only difference that when I see money in the divine space, it's a frequency that aligns with divine love because it's in the divine space. It's only when money comes into human consciousness that it gets labeled bad or greedy or wrong or harmful, or people use it to control us. But in the divine space, money is simply a divine frequency. It's in
right,
flow. So the more money you have, the more you're actually connected to that space. We all want love to feel that abundant, expansive, light, free space, that joyful space, that space of beauty and grace.
right.
And so, yeah, money is, imagine looking at, say, $100 bill, it's on the ground, or euros, or whatever it is in your currency, and just look down, imagine there's, money down there, and just look at it. The money's not doing anything, just sitting there. And until somebody picks it up. Now, if you pick it up, you can spend it on yourself for self-care or somebody else, or it's your choice. But if somebody else, like say that millionaire gets that $100, they might use it for, to harm somebody or to have power over somebody, or from a place of greed to make, more money with it. No, nothing wrong with investing or making money, but they know how to use money in ways that when you start getting into that multimillionaire status, like I'm talking hundreds of millions and billionaire, there's some greed there. So, but money itself, like when you just look at money, or if it's on the table, it's not doing anything. So money has a consciousness that whoever is utilizing the money and has the money, it's not money itself. They're putting that consciousness on that energy that is money. So anybody who's limiting themselves with money, can we just do a little quick clearing here?
Yep,
Yes,
yeah,
please.
Yeah,
We'd
since
love
we're
that. Thank
here.
you.
And yeah, I just kind of felt some people would like some money clearing. Okay, so just imagine money, imagine the concept of money, having money. Okay, some Shame came up around having money. Okay, having more money than just enough to get by or even just live a somewhat comfortable life. And so imagine having an abundance of money. And so more money than beyond your needs, or more money than just, having maybe traveling once in a while. You have an abundance of money, more money than you really know what to do with. And money, there you go. There's some shame coming in. So let's just witness that shame. There's also anxiety because having money, an abundance of money, means you can have greater and greater experiences and you're interacting with more and more people. And there you go. Yeah, there's a fear. I felt that. That's actually shutting down your throat chakra and silencing you. So I'm talking to the collective here. There you go. So imagine allowing yourself to receive as much money as your heart and soul desires. Just imagine yourself allowing yourself to receive that. So, ever increasing amounts of money flowing in with ease and grace. And now allow yourself to receive. Okay, there's some beliefs coming up. One that's coming up is I'm bad. So, let's just let go of that on all levels: mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, cellular, throughout all time and space. It's wrong. Okay, so all the ways you believe it's wrong to receive an abundance of money, to allow yourself to receive ever increasing amounts of money, let go of that. It's wrong on all levels: mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, cellular, throughout all time and space. There you go. There's some happiness starting to bubble up. Just take a deep breath in, let that go. And now imagine you are aligned with the frequency of receiving, and you gratefully allow yourself to receive ever increasing amounts of money with ease and grace. And just feel yourself being grateful because you are receiving more and more money, ever increasing amounts of money with grace and ease. And as you share that money with others, whether it's buying something or supporting somebody else by giving them money, you share that money, you give that money with grace and blessings. So they are blessed. And now you receive even more money through grace, beauty, blessings, and you are grateful. And as you share that money, you give that money to others, you bless them by the very act of you giving that money to others, sharing that money, and they are blessed. And as you bless others, you are blessed by receiving ever increasing amounts of money. So shokabasa wala sa shoko, so shokabasa wala ka, babaka wala sa shoko, so shokabasa, babaka wala sa shoko, so shokabasa wala ka. Take a deep breath in, let that go. There you go.
Wow.
That was amazing.
Wow. Wow.
So
Thank you.
anybody who needs a little boost with money, there you go.
Thank you. I think that so many people will benefit from that because I could just feel, and then, visions were even coming in for myself of, one thing that I've started is when I go get a few groceries from the grocery store, is I always buy something for the food bank. And then I drop that in because I feel grateful that I can afford food. And sometimes it's a box of crackers, right? I know we don't, but to me, it's about releasing that fear of having enough and doing the right things with it. So I just love that. Like it opened it up my heart totally to it. So I think everybody will appreciate that so much. So appreciate you sharing.
Um,
That
yeah.
that Kim is a really good example of sharing the abundance from a place of gratitude. And that way you're fine because that's an energy you're creating and you start receiving even more abundance. And Also notice we tend to think in the forms of money, but also notice if you get, it can be support from somebody, it can be tickets to something, or somebody pays for dinner, or you go to a restaurant, anything like that. Also notice that those are forms of receiving, because again, what we notice and we put our attention on and focus on, that expands. So if you can notice any moments of receiving abundance like that and give gratitude for it, just like you're doing there. You're going to the grocery store, and with the higher prices and everything, they can be pretty expensive these days, but you're so grateful to be able to do that and to be able to buy that food and such, that you're sharing it with gratitude with others. That's big. Yeah, that's
Oh, thank you.
really awesome.
Well, and it just, I came home and told my husband, and it was funny because I wasn't sure if he would be resistant to it. And he's like, "Well, that's a really good idea." I said, "Well, I just, it doesn't have to be a lot, but every little bit helps, right?" So, and especially like you said, with the cost of money, there's so many families, you're seeing it so much and hearing so much of people that are struggling. So, if you can do something to help, I think that's, a good thing.
Yeah, awesome.
So yeah, no, we really appreciate that. And you have a lot of amazing information, and I love how, you talk about, recognizing these things that are holding us back and giving us these limiting beliefs, and, and not beating ourselves up when we do realize there's that fear or something that's holding us back, but just to kind of breathe through it and walk through it, because it's like the message that when you were talking was I was really getting is you kind of got to go through it to get to the other side. So really doing that. So that's what I was picking up
Yeah.
when you were saying it.
Yeah, I
Very true.
remember that reminded me of when several years ago I was going to a park with a friend of mine, and it was, the middle part was all forest, and there was a lake in the middle, and we had to walk through the forest. The sun was shining, beautiful day, but we had to walk through the forest to get to the lake where there was more sun. And he's like, "Oh no, I want to stay in the sun." I'm like, "Well, we have to walk through the forest, where it's dark and cooler to get to that." And after we got through, he's like, to the lake and where the sun was, he was like, "Oh yeah, that's a metaphor for life. You have to walk through the darkness to get to the light." So yeah, I hadn't thought of that in years. So it's the biggest thing I want people to realize too is your words can support you. It can support your health. Definitely, your words you use towards yourself, the words you use like because the mind's like a Q&A. We're always asking, just unconsciously, we're asking a question, and the mind will always answer you. A common question many of us ask ourselves is, what's wrong with me? Or what did I do wrong? Or why didn't I get this right? Or something like that. Why do I never have enough money? Why is it all such a struggle? These are, questions we ask ourselves. We don't even think of it because we were brought up to ask, questions like that. And so we do it without thinking about it, but the mind will always give you an answer. So if you can start paying attention to the questions you ask yourself, like one of them, like when I mentioned that client who'd had a few sessions with me, she said, "You want me to send your information to the co-producer I know of this show?" And I said, "Sure." But what I had done for that for 2 years beforehand was I was out walking one day, and ran into a friend of mine, and we were talking, and we knew a mutual healer who was on the shows doing the telesummits and that. And she said, "You ought to start going on them." And I just went, "Oh, no, not me. Like, I don't like, I didn't want to be seen and heard. And I didn't believe I was good enough or have the information or anything like that." But then I'm a big walker. So as I was out walking, I think about this and I'm like, what if that is possible? So I started asking myself for about 2 years, like a mantra, what if it is possible? What if it is possible? What if it is possible? I even recorded into my phone for about 20 minutes, and I would play it, when I was going to bed at night, or if I woke up in the middle of the night, what if it is possible? And it was like being able to really launch my healing business, to get on the shows, to, have a financial, like have an income with it so I could do this full time. And I had been on the path for so long and working through so much stuff and feelings of worthlessness and such. I didn't, but I'd gotten so I didn't think it was ever really going to be possible. But I started saying like a mantra. I'd say it out loud while I was walking, or sometimes just to myself and out driving, falling asleep and that. What if it's possible? What if it's possible? What if it's possible? So there's some kind of dream they've got. And whether they want to quit their job and start their business, they want to buy a house, they want to get into a relationship, have a child, travel, whatever it is. If you really desire that, start asking yourself, what if it's possible? What if it's possible? Because even if we do everything right, we take action, we, move through the fear. If there's a part of you that is canceling all that out because your mind's going, yeah, but this is never going to happen. This is never going to happen. Then sometimes you can just stay on that treadmill. But if you start saying to yourself, what if it's possible over and over and over again, eventually, and you will find this, do it long enough, your mind will go, you know what, it's possible. And that's actually happened to me several times with different things, is I'll go, that's not possible. And then I start asking myself, well, what if it is possible? What if it is possible? And I'll notice eventually when I say that, the mind go, well, yeah, it's possible. Just trust. And then I have to trust it will show up and, at the right time. So that's another, what if it's possible? Start talking to yourself with kindness, even if you feel like nothing's working out or you've messed out, like I shouldn't have done this. Use kindness towards yourself, anyways. Use words that support you. Use words that, if something didn't turn out the way you were hoping to, then it's simply just next time you use, different actions. You didn't do anything wrong. You got the result you were supposed to. So next time, just, take different actions and you get a different result. And really pay attention to your words and the questions you're asking yourself. The more you ask yourself empowering questions, the more you will get answers. Your mind will answer you in ways that support and empower and inspire you. Combine that with saying, well, what if it is possible? And your life can literally turn around if you continue doing this, because what you're doing is you're creating an energy field that says it's possible. And it's, yeah, your words can build up your immune system. I have used, when I feel not so much chronic pain, but like if I feel an acute pain or, for some reason or whatever, and then I'll talk to that body part. Let's say it's a joint or whatever, and my knee's bothering me. I'm doing pretty good, but every now and then, my knee will bother me. And I would just talk to my knee. Thank you, knee. I appreciate you, knee. I appreciate you for supporting me. I appreciate the way you support me in moving forward. And what that does, because if you're feeling pain, it's whether it's chronic or acute, that is a congealed energy. It's a stuck, dense energy. And when you speak to it, your words are energy. When you speak to it with kindness, that dissolves that energy and it will start to move through.
That's amazing. Wow. That's so much information. And I think people are going to love it because I'm just like sucked right in and like, and I know some of that, but I'm just so, listening to what you're saying and thinking about things in my life and things that I've said. So I think that's incredible. I think we could talk to you for hours and hours and hours, but
I think so too, because I was also getting visions while she was speaking. So it's like, woo, this is pretty cool.
exactly.
Awesome.
So can you tell everybody where to find you?
The website is the best place. That's courageinaction.com. So courageinaction.com. And there's a free ebook on there. You just enter your email. It's Messages from Spirit ebook. And there's several written messages, from Spirit. And then also about an hour and a half of MP3s. And as soon as you enter your email, that will show up on the website. So, and then you can just download it. And then there's in the shop, there's different things in there, like different MP3s on money and our conditioning and releasing and there's a couple programs in there too. One's on fear or one's in free about freedom, and the other one is how'd you forget? I think it's about money and abundance and such. And those are the longer programs with MP3s. And I also have Instagram I started recently, and that is Joy Baker 8888. So 4 8s. So
Perfect. Well,
Beautiful.
we
pretty
will
good
throw
handle.
that into the show notes. And so, if you had a final thought to leave with our listeners, what would it be?
Value yourself. What you've gone through in your life, whether it's been done to you or something you've done, does not define who you are. You decide who you are. You are here for a reason. The reason you've gone through the trauma and the struggle and abuse and the experiences you've had is because you are a light worker. You are here to see the light in the density so that people can awaken. You're here for a reason. You don't have to be stuck in the whether struggle for money or you're feeling a lot of pain or health issues or whatever it is. You can free yourself. Start with being kind to yourself. What you've gone through, even if you're in the midst of it now, doesn't define who you are. You do matter. You are important. You are enough. You have value. You are worthy and deserving. Believe that, feel that, align with that, and allow that.
Wonderful. And so, what's new for you in 2025? Anything coming up in 2025 for you?
Uh, Well, I am in the process of expanding my business right now. Yeah, I just started my Instagram, which is big for me because the whole tech space is not, that's not really my forte. So that was a big thing for me. So yeah, more expansion. I did move from I'm in BC, Canada, and I moved from the mainland to Vancouver Island. So, exploring here and just enjoying the ocean and the mountains and the beautiful energy here. So
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So, thank you so much for sharing space with us today. We really did appreciate it. And, like Mom said, we were both just like, ah. So, we'd love to have you back sometime to
yeah, that
share
would be
more of
awesome.
your knowledge. And yeah, so thank you so much for sharing space with us.
Thank you for having me on
Thank you.
the show, Kim
Thank
and Barb.
You're very welcome. And everybody else, we will see you the next time.
you. You bet you will.